Hello, my name is Dylan Davis, and I decided to do my literary analysis and oral presentation on A&P by John Updike. I'm taking this video from a webcam, so I'm unable to provide a visual aid at this time and have to ask that you follow along with the PowerPoint that I attached. I'll point out when I'm changing slides during the presentation, so just bear with me here. But anyways, I had researched John Updike for my author presentation earlier in the semester, and he's a very intelligent author, and I enjoyed the descriptive nature of this story. A&P, as you remember, is a story about a cashier named Sammy who works at the local A&P store and is distracted by three girls who walk in wearing bathing suits, with the local beach being 5 miles away. The majority of the story is spent with him describing the girls, and in the end they get confronted by his manager and are embarrassed, in Sammy's words, causing Sammy to quit to try to impress them. While the obvious reason is that he quit to impress the girls, I'd like to argue that that was not entirely the reason for him quitting, but rather that he just disliked working at A&P in general, which I described in slide 2. Moving into slide 3, he describes himself as being very similar to his coworker Stokesy, who, as we learn, has hopes of becoming a manager one day. And given the similarities between the two, he may have felt that he was going to be along the same path, and that might have scared him into thinking that he would stay at A&P longer than he had hoped. He probably realized that working at a dead-end grocery store such as A&P made him the status of the lower class of society, and that this move was his first step into trying to meet the standards of people who are in an upper class of society. I also got the feeling that he disliked his manager Langle, who he describes as the manager who doesn't miss much. This is demonstrated as Langle repeats himself when he's talking to the girls by saying that, "Girls, this isn't a beach," and he notices Sammy's face, which has a little smirk on it, and which Langle doesn't like too much, and I'm assuming this confrontation also irritated Sammy and contributed into his irritation with the store and maybe with Langle in general. Moving into slide 4, after Langle tells the girls about the policy of A&P and that they need their shoulders covered, Sammy notes that only kingpins want the policy, which shows his dislike of A&P by implying, however, that juvenile delinquents like himself would much rather not go by the policy and would allow for customers to walk into the store wearing whatever they'd like. This shows off his individual freedom of the corporation with his beliefs disagreeing with the policy. Also, he refers to the customers in general as sheep. The sheep are depicted as how customers would typically act in a grocery store and how the average person would portray them. He says that you could set off dynamite in the store and people would just keep on with their shopping, as customers tend to be fixated on what they need to buy rather than what is going on around them generally. Moving on into slide 5, he continues to give examples of these sheep. One example in particular in the beginning of the story, he had been ringing out items for a woman and accidentally scanned one twice. And once he did, the woman jumped on his case instantly, and he describes her by saying that she's one of these cash register watchers, a witch about 50, with rouge on her cheekbones and no eyebrows, and I know it made her day to trip me up. His irritation with the store also becomes clear in that he points out that he has rung out so many people in his time at A&P that every time he does, it almost sounds like a song that repeats in his head, which he greets the customer while pushing the buttons necessary to process the transaction. The repetitive nature of this job and that example, and just in general, was just a good reason for him to want to leave A&P. I felt like all these pre-existing factors, and including, the moment where he tries to defend those three girls and look good, played huge roles in his decision to eventually leave A&P. And that is all I have for you. Thank you for watching, and best of luck to all of you on your presentations on Thursday. I wish I could have been there, but I have class during all those times. And That's it.